How are you doing? It's been a while, has it not? Welcome, everyone, to 2026. This is Fridays at 4, and I'm your community manager, Cordovan. Today's going to be a little bit of news, a moderate amount of gaming, because we have a lot we're going to be doing soon, but not a lot I could tell you about today necessarily, but I do have a few things that I know that I can talk about. So, we did survive the week. So, for me and much of SSG, and in fact, a moderate amount of the game industry itself, came back to work on Monday after a couple of weeks off for the holiday. And so that's really what we did this week is we got back to work. We got going on everything that we were working on before, got caught up on all those emails and all those reported posts. If you're the community manager, went through all my tickets. So if you had a forum problem and registration problem or what have you, I worked with you on that through our help ticket system. Frankly, the list of things to do is big. So we just got going on it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about just really everything that we'll be doing here in just a minute. Sorry, I'm a little slow today. I did want to actually mention that I think there's going to be some changes to my live stream schedule here in 2026, and it's due to some changing priorities on my part, but also a result of the feedback I've been getting from both games communities over recent years. And that is, we need to start doing more like kind of regular video, short video, horizontal video, vertical video, social media stuff. We have a DDO content creator program that kicked off in 2025. I want to do a second round of onboarding to get some more creators who we weren't able to fit in the first time around in. And, frankly, I want to better manage the people who are part of the current DDO content creator program because they've suffered a bit just due to a lack of available time on my part. So I need to carve out some time, frankly, to really do what I'm doing here, but do it a little bit more behind the scenes, which is to manage the live streamers and other content creators who we're working with so they'll be doing a lot of the content, rather than me, ultimately is what we're heading toward here, because it works great. And we've already got a big slate of streamers who we want to support better. So I need to carve out a little bit of time during my work week. And one of the things I'm thinking about doing is transitioning a little bit from live streaming over to more regular but shorter form content creation. For example, one of the bits of feedback I think we have seen quite a bit over the years is, I really don't want to have to sit there for a long live stream every week to get the news. And we do other things as well. A lot of this stuff does in fact get out to the Discord and forums, and we have our forum threads and articles and web pages. But that is part of the foundational work that has to take place when you do this sort of thing. So we need to have a little more time for that, a little more time for the creation, and use that whole funnel system really to more widely distribute a bunch of news. It's one of the things that's been on my agenda for a while, and one of the hang-ups really has just been available time to do it. So I think in 2026 here I'm going to give myself some of that time, and it's going to be done really from a transition from, I guess, what we would say mostly live to more behind the scenes, where I'm actually producing more video that you'll see on YouTube and social media and Twitch, because I also want to use the time to focus. It's like, well, when I am live, rather than say an every week show where I'm doing a bunch of gaming and things like that, maybe instead we should do what I'm doing here more in short form, and then also open up the ability to do more developer previews, more Lamania previews, things like that. Maybe they wouldn't be on a Friday. Maybe they would be a different time. Maybe they would just be Friday, but not every week. I don't know yet. But that's where I'm heading right now in 2026 as I kind of look at the landscape of what I want to do, what we need to do, both as a company, but also as a DDO content, creation entity. And I'm kind of reevaluating some of my long-term decisions. I have been live streaming, 12 years? 10 to 12 years, somewhere along those lines. And certainly, 12 years ago, me live streaming was a priority, I felt, personally, professionally, was something that had to be done. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I don't know if that's the case in 2025. As a matter of fact, I think there's tons of people who can probably do a better job of presenting some of that stuff rather than I. And maybe I should be supporting them instead. Honestly, is some of what's my thinking here. But then it's also about, like I say, carving out some of the time to be able to actually do this work long term. I do podcasts, like a podcast outside of work. It's one of the things I do for fun. And like with a lot of my creative efforts on the side, part of it is about learning how to do it, learning how to use video editors and get them in multiple aspect ratios and get that stuff produced regularly, for example. And that's what I want to bring here. I want to do more of that here, and I need the time to do it. And so maybe I think I might be doing more of that as well here in 2026. But for today, we're back on our live Fridays, and we will be for a little while because, gosh, we have a little thing called our 20th anniversary, do we not? That's happening in late February. That's the other thing that we've been doing this week a lot of, is tons of anniversary planning. It's like, okay, it's January here. We've been planning this stuff out for months, frankly, obviously. Most of a year, honestly, in advance is really when that 20th anniversary planning starts. But we're hitting a key milestone, which is, okay, we're all back from the holiday, and what do we have left to do? What do we want to preview? What do we need to talk about? What are we building articles for? So we've got like 4 or 5 things that we're building articles for. And I don't know how much of this you know. I know some of it you very much don't know. But I don't know how much of it you might all know a little bit about it even. So you're going to learn a lot more about that in the coming weeks. But we have a whole bunch of stuff that we're doing because it's going to be our 20th anniversary here in late February. And that's going to be a really exciting time. So I have a lot of work to do ahead of that. One of the things I'm going to be doing is actually updating our soundtracks. Both games, 2025, got busy with transfers and everything else that happened. And one of the things I had to kind of get kicked to the wayside a bit was some of the soundtrack work that we do on YouTube. Also, you might know that in some key anniversaries, we've been able to do more official style soundtracks. Generally not physical, but digitally available. Not for money, just for free. You can just download it, right? And some of that exists in the past. And we got a 20th coming up, so there might be some of that happening. Who might be involved in that? Who might be taking a lead role? Because I'm like, yeah, we need to do that. But we'll see. We have a lot happening here for our 20th anniversary that we're going to be having a lot more information about in the coming weeks. Short term, we have a patch incoming. That is going to be update 77.2. It won't be next week, potentially the week after that. Probably the week after that. And that's really going to capture anything that we needed to capture since our last game update, which was in mid-December at this point. So we have some things to catch up on. Any of the bugs that you're experiencing right now in general should be resolved by that in that patch. Anything left over would be in a subsequent patch. But I don't know exactly what the release notes are at this time. We also have... I don't even... It's like... We also have a producer's letter incoming. That's the other piece I would say. Tolero's been working independently to put together a producer's letter, and we're at the stage where we're all going to be starting to contribute to it and provide our input and start identifying, okay, so what do we need for screenshots, and what are we going to... Who's going to take those, and what's going to look like, and how we're going to stage that, where we're going to record it, all that kind of stuff. So that's all happening. It'll be a little while yet before we see the producer's letter. My guess would be something like perhaps early February, but the work is well underway on that this week as well. So update 77.2, the producer's letter, 20th anniversary planning. That's really what we've been up to a lot this week. I would remind you the Symphony of the Fae event is continuing through February 3rd. That's the thing that's happening in-game. We will also have Snow Peaks coming soon. This next Wednesday is The Jester Turns Off. So you have through Tuesday to get your cookies if you want to. And then I will have to look to see what we determined for Snow Peaks. I think I can actually get that info. I didn't call it up though. I will, while I'm doing that, let me look at chat. A bingo card for the producer's letter. Okay. What update can I provide about ship lag? That is largely an environmental issue and something we will be looking at now that everyone is back in the office. I am aware that there has been some instability. It's probably certain instance instability, and the cause and result way to resolve that is going to really come from the part of technical folks and work being done either in the environment, like perhaps some work could have been done or was done on Wednesday, or something like next Wednesday during a maintenance window. All right, Snow Peaks is set to debut January 22nd. Snow Peaks will debut Thursday, January 22nd. And I see it running as a couple of weeks going through Tuesday, February 3rd. I also see that the Chilla Ravenloft Stuff 4 Points is going to be coming soon. I can't provide more information about specific timing on that. That tends to arrive in the store and then get its own little hype. But that'll be happening here soon as well. All right. What else do we got for questions? Let's see. Is this horizontal? Yes. This would be considered the 16:9 kind of traditional regular video. In 2025 here, and it's honestly been the case for a few years now, the world is shifting to vertical video. It's actually true, including for this kind of thing. And so I want to make sure that we're there as well. Especially I'm thinking for shorter news beats, that kind of 45-second vertical video with a little bit of cool video and such in the background that I could whip up and pretty quickly, now that I've got some technical skill with it. I kind of like that idea. Official streams and streams with devs, producers will absolutely not be going away. What might be is just the weekly me hanging out, whether there's news or not, on the live stream. I am continuing to go through questions. You heard it here first. Every bug fixed in 77.2. Wow, that would be an accomplishment. And not just in DDO, but we're going to fix it for every video game. Does that mean Kenneth Crafting is going to be, quote, fixed? It is not broken. I've been using it. We have been talking, however, about the next steps in Kenneth Crafting and the when on that. So, when does Caster DPS get a pass? Well, again, we're going to talk more about our plans for the year in a producer letter. We are well aware that there's a large section of the community who very much would like us to do work on Caster DPS, perhaps shake up the meta, some of those big meta arguments about melee versus casters versus ranged, and address some of the Caster DPS concerns that you have raised to us. That's something that we are certainly have seen that feedback, and I can't promise any kind of reaction or fix other than to say we've seen it. You're totally going to farm a couple more Immortal Sun Flasks. Yes, if you don't know that item, you can get it from Snow Peaks. You should look it up. You'll see it on, I think, most of my characters. I don't know. Jimmy has an issue with their VIP reward claim and a CS ticket. I don't know how long it will take to fix. The hope would be that we would be able to resolve it in time for you to get the next one. But a lot of times, depending on the cause, they may need to manually grant something for you anyway, so they can put you on track as necessary. When will Achilla Ravenloft be in the DDO store? Soon. We'll have more information about that real soon here. No time frame yet, but that is another item on the agenda, which is 64 to 64-bit transfers and any kind of remaining work needing to be done with transfers. Time frame on the producer's letter, my most solid time frame would say, let's say early February, before that gets published, with work being done on assets and related content for it in the coming weeks. The text itself is not yet final, however. It's not, I would actually say it's on its way to there, but it's not even close yet. However, the content of which it will contain, I think, is largely a done dealio. If you have a scammer you need to report inside of the game, you can go to help.standingstonegames.com and submit a ticket to us. There's an in-game category just for that. Can I tease? We're going to tease a new X-Pack in the producer letter. Probably. Will DDO get UI scaling akin to what the Lord of the Rings Online is currently getting? Sadly, probably not. Not to say that we don't want to do it, but rather it will be a separate process, because the difference in our two games doesn't allow us to really just take the one and go drop it in on the DDO side. Unfortunately, because if you are a Lotro player, we've been previewing UI scaling, which has been really nice. So it's something we would like to do, DDO side, but it would be its own very much separate task, I believe. The way the two games differ is just too great. All right. I think I've actually pretty much cleared through everything I was going to talk about. Yeah, so let's go in game. Perhaps someday we would be able to bring back a reporting system inside of the game. Oh, I remember this. I thought I fixed this. Let me see. You know what, folks? I have to real quick kill the stream, change a setting, and then log back or refire the stream. So I'll be back in, like, say, 1 minute here. Okay, I'm looking at my own video now in my broadcast software, and I am not all framey again. I realized what the issue was. Strangely, that wasn't seem to be the issue this time, which is a little weird. But we're back, and we have no frame issue. So if you ever run into that, it's probably because the stream software is using... Oh, now it's back. That is odd. I am having stream software difficulties. Normally, I have discovered that it's an issue with having it set to your CPU or onboard GPU rather than your graphics card, somewhere in your main stream settings. But it actually was set correctly. I just refreshed it, and it wasn't a problem, so I was like, alright, we're good. Maybe I'm incorrect.
You step out of the mists to find yourself.
I do not have
dark,
any information to provide about when
you can
we
hear
might
the
be able to
muffled
offer additional
sounds of a struggle
transfers
from behind the metal
either
door
from
ahead.
the 64-bit worlds or or otherwise. I can tell you that this week we were able to get a transfer issue resolved. But the transfer button was off after Wednesday. It took a little bit of work to get that one back. But we did get it back. Stop locking me in. Actually, you know what? I could take care of it.
The man explains that he was trying to find his friend. Pulling the lever reveals a passageway. It leads down into a brightly lit hallway.
Right, you're right. I'm actually turning down. I had it set because I was playing over the holiday. And since I wasn't actually streaming, I was like, hey, let's crank that sound up.
You found a network of newly built corridors hidden beneath the warehouse. Someone inside a nearby office hails you.
I think in general, just have not really had time to have those conversations about the next steps for transfers. We know that some work is going to need to be done in order to facilitate it.
The scientist says she was... A large notebook sits on the desk. It looks like some kind of research log.
Oh, actually, here we go. Specific to, you know, we had an issue with the last transfers with people with like item ID conflicts and such, and that is going to be something we need to adapt around for these transfers as well, so that we don't cause further problem. And that's one of the things that we just need to spend a little time to do some work to do before we can go on our next steps on that. But we will be doing that.
Fills this hallway. A
As soon as we
large
can.
door to the construct laboratory ahead is sealed, with 2 signal crystals nearby.
Actually saw some work done this week on a few people with item ID conflicts as well. So I know that there is still a little bit of work being done, but my understanding is a majority of those issues were resolved prior to the break. No. To the question of whether we are looking into transfers without packing, the answer is no. Packing is likely to be part of the process long term. And while we could perhaps at some point allow for further granularity there, I wouldn't expect that whatsoever with these upcoming 64 to 64-bit.
The large
transfers
door to
that
the
you will be
construct
packing.
laboratory opens.
So if you have
as
stuff
the
that you
second
need to,
crystal
you don't want to send to a world, well, you'll have to deal with that. We are aware of the issue, however, now that I'm going back into my pre-holiday brain. We do have an outstanding issue we need to resolve with creature companions and mounts, and I have seen
A strange
some
sight
discussion
greets
and related
Shuffling
tasking
figures
associated
that
with
seem
that
to
as
be
well.
worshipping
So I would expect to
a
see
floating jar.
perhaps something happening there with everything else that we're doing. How was my holiday? It was good. I spent it with my son and others in my life. No major issues. that I had to respond to. You know, I don't get 2 weeks off of work.
The
No.
jar shatters.
You're always
This
spending maybe an
experimental
hour,
subject's rebellion
maybe a little
failed,
more per day,
but at least it's been freed
just doing
from
little
its
bits and
tormentors.
bobs for work. You got to
Yet
keep an
there's
eye
no
on the
sign of
forums and
Felix or Dr.
Discord and
Gustav.
things, and deal with
must be
any
somewhere
issues
deeper
that might
within the
arise
lab.
there. You're always going to kind of have something or other happen. But it was a real quiet holiday for the most part, and so it was really nice. And thank you to everyone, like say the mods, especially in the DDO Discord, who were great over the holiday break as well. I did get a little DDO in, but not a ton. I was busy mostly with my son and doing other stuff related to the holiday. A few weeks off so that we could energize for this year, because, like I said, we kind of hit the ground running here, because we've got our 20th anniversary in a couple of months. But a lot of the planning already was well underway, like I said, for about a year here, really. It's just that you hit a milestone in January. It's like, okay, let's talk about deliverable dates. I am going to go back and use that shrine.
The secret door slides open to reveal a well-traveled hallway. Shapes approach from further down the way.
The reason, by the way, for the packing and unpacking requirement to persist is that it's not just about that one function of packing, rather it's the infrastructure that we were able to create that allowed these transfers to be successful, to take place. So in many cases a fix would be like, yes, we could re-engineer the system, but you know, we currently have priorities like our 20th anniversary coming up and things like that. So you run into things that you can do and things that you can't do. And since the system is functioning in the way that it can bring over your reincarnated stuff and things like that, that was not the case prior. It's likely to persist for a while. Eventually, I would expect us to have a way to transfer a character rather than in a character with its account stuff. Some form of toggle similar to what maybe exists on the Lord of the Rings Online side, where you have shared items transfer that is separate from character transfer. That also does put the burden then, it's a two-step process. You transfer your character and then you transfer your stuff. But it would also be a solution to this problem and something that we could pursue long-term with additional engineering development and all the other work that has to take place in order to bring something like that out. But for these upcoming 64 to 64-bit transfers, what we'll be doing is requiring you to pack and unpack from Lord's March and such, as exists today. Oh. Oh, I've got to finish up what I was doing here on the other side. Thank you so much, Punching Toy. It's true that 2025 was a challenging year in 1,000 different fronts, but thankfully by the end of it, we have got a DDO that is running pretty good, is it not? And isn't that nice? keep forgetting I'm playing it. Yeah, I don't play a ton of casters. I keep forgetting I've got PK now.
You'd almost feel bad for it if it hadn't just attacked you.
I am a wild mage, as you can see. Well, who else? Random Rice brings up another option. You know, one of the slate of options that we have to both figure out, but also have as a possibility, which is, well, is there a way we can allow both packing and unpacking on a server prior to transfer? And that is, in fact, another thing that's on our agenda to consider, figure out, you know, the proper answer to, and do some of that. So maybe is the answer on that. Maybe that is the solution. Or at least part of the solution. We'll see. But we can't hit the make it work button, sadly. Our keyboards don't have it. We have to actually make it work. I'm trying growing the make it work tree. Take out, pluck make it work fruit from its branches. Feed it into your computer and have fully developed systems, but we're not quite there yet. By the end of the event, what caused the most deaths? And why was it an infant? Well, that's a good question. I don't know about that one. I can tell you that I think past hardcore, there was that one hardcore year, I think, where we did something like that. And I don't think it's really changed that much. And the answer to that question then is Misadventure is likely the lead killer, aka Traps. With the second most usually being, if I recall, wasn't it the wizard in
an obstacle course for
the arcane wizard in the one grotto?
blood splatters and viscera below show the lethal nature of the experiment.
But it's something like that. Typically a caster arcane low level that can kind of one shot. But the number one is almost always Traps. Yeah, Magma Brute, there's another one. Oh, what did I miss here? What am I doing? I am... Oh, that's right. I know what I'm doing. Okay. Well, I kind of know what I'm doing. You don't see... I don't think you actually do see a ton of people deliberately killing their friends. Because we don't... You know, as much as it could be a potential thing that would overwhelm customer support, I don't think it really is. Because I don't think people will really do that too much. I mean, I'm sure it happens. But in general, no one's going to do it. Because they're not going to stay your friend, and they're not going to keep grouping with you if you kill their characters. Or at least not. I could, in fact, tell you a whole bunch more about that new archetype, but I don't think I can yet. I'm sorry. now I am going to clear out the rest of the thing, use up my spell points, use the shrine, then hit the other wing. I will let the folks over at Daybreak know about their category concern with DCUO and DDO. I hadn't caught that myself, sorry. Apparently there's a miscategorization happening somewhere else within the organization. I will let them know. We'll get that sorted. I want it fixed because of analytics. We don't want to cross the streams. Yeah, I'm sorry, I really can't talk about.
You are greeted with the sight of surgical equipment and the smell of blood. This place must have been the scene of many cruel experiments.
Okay, I need spell points, so I'm going back. Planescape, Dragonlance, Dark Sun. Who knows? Generally, all those different settings can be a little complicated, so... hard to say. Maybe someday. Yeah, you probably don't want to default out of your student loan to Wizard School. They can do stuff. You'd be like, yeah, okay. I mean, you will be paying it back. It's mostly about whether you voluntarily do it or not. What am I most looking forward to leaking this year? That would probably be the list of items in the new... At some point, you'll know the answer to that question, though. You'll be like, ooh, he wasn't just making that up. Oh, another long-running question is when is the Mimic Hunt coming back? And we need to do some work on it before we can bring it back, but I have heard that that is also in our 2026 agenda. So we should, at some point here, probably later rather than earlier in the year, but still, perhaps see a return to that. there is in fact a performance issue that we need to address, which is one of the reasons why it has not just been brought back. So Ungermax TV, I know your name enough to say potentially to your question. I do want to do a second round of onboarding for the DDO content creator program here in the coming, let's say, next couple of months, where I onboard another 20 to whatever number of people. I see your name often enough that you might well qualify, so you should put in an application.
You have found Felix Wagner at last, but he doesn't seem well. A nearby rat looks at you attentively.
No, I can't be bought even with rare vinyl records. I have enough already. I don't need to be bribed with them. I can just get them. You know what was fun though? Speaking of off-topic stuff over the holiday. So one of my local record stores celebrated its 2nd anniversary this week. And they did a giveaway, you know, a little ticket drawing giveaway for a $100 gift certificate, and I won it. So on Tuesday night or whatever, around the time I was done with work for the day, I got notice that I had $100 in free records waiting for me on Wednesday morning. I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah, how cool is that? That was fun. No, I got 4 records. You're right, though. Vinyl prices have gotten expensive, especially for, like, new vinyl, but the only new vinyl I got is and this group will appreciate that, is I got a brand new copy of Maiden's Somewhere in Time. A little folk rock record from Iron Maiden. And, that was fun. But otherwise, I just found a few used things.
You step out of the mists to find yourself in a dark, narrow hallway.
Are you asking about more
You can
tabs
hear
in the
the
character
muffled
bank?
sound
Is
of
that what you're asking?
struggle
That I don't know
behind the
about.
metal door ahead.
But in general, we would like to offer more storage and resolve storage solution concerns. So perhaps, especially if we're able to carve out the time to do UI work on the DDO side, I would think solving some of these, well, can we make it a lot easier to offer a lot more storage, would be one of the tasks that we might well select to work on.
It leads down into a brightly lit hallway. You found a network of newly built corridors hidden beneath the warehouse. Someone inside a nearby office hails you.
Oh, adding it. Well, see, that's what I was saying though, because we already have like tabs, and you can organize them and do things. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. But then I also.
The scientist says she was forced to barricade
so
herself.
I was like, well, maybe we have an upper limit. Do we only let you have like
Looks
X
like
number?
some kind of research log.
How many tabs can you have? You're only allowed to have 8. Okay.
The sound of squeaks
I would think so.
fills this hallway.
It may well be a kind of a vertical space issue, so perhaps user interface that would allow for better dynamic scaling and dragging and resizing would in fact be the work necessary. Ooh, tabs and crafting? That would be good. Now that I could, yeah. crafting storage, which is actually, that was what I was going to suggest. Thanks for the reminder. My suggestion on turning in your cookies for Festival is to consolidate that stuff in your crafting storage and then just give it to one character and do the mass turn-ins of your cookies. That's what I usually do, and it seems to work out pretty well.
The large door to the construct laboratory opens.
Just
as
based
the
on
second
what I
crystal
know
activates.
of the ask there, Jack, which is, can we get an in-game mail waiting indicator on character buttons in the character select
Strange
screen?
sight greets you.
Well, part of that,
Shuffling
as we
figures
know
that
from
seem to be
transfers and all the stuff in
worshiping a floating jar.
2025 here, that there's a difference between being in character select and being on a game world. So there would be, it could definitely exist. There would be a bigger than you'd think, I think, development project to be able to sort of query the game world and then pull that back into characters. But in theory, you could do something like that. We will have more information soon about Chilla Ravenloft and the various bits of items in it in the DDO store. We'll have that information soon. I can't give it to you today. We don't announce that stuff other than to give a month,
The
which
jar
is January.
shatters. This experimental subject's rebellion failed, but at least it's been freed from its tormentors.
And that's as far as I
Yet
can
there's
really
no sign
speak
of
to it today.
Felix or Dr. Gustav. They must be somewhere deeper within the lab.
Oh, Sean, I just frankly haven't really had the opportunity to follow up on your Players Council question. I see you in chat asking about it. I will get back to you. Let's just say, well, I mean, it's Friday now. I will get back to you on Monday about that. We'll get that sorted for you. You probably reached out to me just because I've been radio silent on it for too long, and I appreciate that. You're right, I have been. I was busy over break and everything. I kind of, the mess of everything. We never really sorted through that, did we? I will get that done. Yeah. More filters into the bank search, like search by set name or bonus name type. I would think that it would require a larger UI overhaul to be able to support something like that. It would need to be
You
able
are
to better
greeted with the
parse,
sight of
perhaps,
surgical equipment, the smell of
the
blood.
text that exists
This
from
place
within
must
an
have
item
been the
description.
scene of many cruel experiments.
But perhaps. I wouldn't be the one to speak to that, though. If we get an opportunity in the coming months here to talk to Steel Star or someone else, perhaps, that knows a little more about that level of system, they'd be a better group to ask about. Or a better person to ask. I also keep forgetting I've got Electric Loop, which is not a bad spell, depending.
This was a holding pen for test subjects. The doors have been torn off their hinges.
You're right, also, like, being able to toggle has augment would be another lovely quality of life. Absolutely it would. Yep. I'm down. That sounds good. Hit that make it work button again. What did I say about cookies? What I said about cookies is that you have until through Tuesday to turn them in, for one, because the adjuster will not return after Wednesday's downtime. But also I tend to consolidate them all on one character and then just turn it in from one character. Basically, and I use the crafting storage as the medium for that. My understanding is that if we want to get rid of the Fey borders on items once the event ends, then it could be done through some kind of versioning system, probably opt-in on the part of players. So we would have to create some kind of versioning entity to strip the border off of an item. That's about what I can tell you about that. I don't know that we're going to do that work, but I think that that's what would be required to do that work if we do want to do it. Unfortunately, bound to account bags, I know players love them. I know you love the bound to account bags. They are a big problem in that they are probably the #1 reason why things have gone missing over the years when transferring things through a shared account bag. It's just the statistical reality. And so we are loath to... We are risk averse, perhaps, might be the better phrase. Turn in your coins for cookies. I don't know which order of operation I messed up there, but one or the other, that's what you're doing. Here, have some coins. Here, have some cookies. I tend to keep them on one character as well. And since I do it every year, I just pick a different character every year. That way I've got a bag of cookies that are just ready to go on a character. At some point, I am sure that we will get to a wider Reaper enhancement system pass, but I have not heard of any plans to do that short term. It'll be a big project, will it not? So is it going to happen? I'm sure it will. At some point we will need to redo all those Reaper trees and do a whole ton of
Blood
work.
splatters
But
and viscera
I
below.
wouldn't want to
show the
even
lethal
speculate
nature
as to any kind of
experiment.
timing. It's true, we did mention it. I guess it has been a couple of years since that subject first got broached, and Sever, whoever was talking about, yeah, we should do that work. It's been on the list of topics for some time, but we will get to it at some point, for sure. Top of the list these days in office discussions? Well, I'll be honest, I wasn't really involved so much in terms of the 2026 planning, because there are other people who do that work. Things like Tolero and Severlin and Knockback and Torque and all sorts of people, Steelstar and others who are all involved, right? More so than myself. So I'm not sure that I can really tell you, other than a lot of the same stuff that we were talking about outside of those discussions, probably. Much of which you will see in 2026, some of which you may not. A Knockback is a long-time content. He's our lead content person on the team, but he's been with the team for a very long time now, and goes all the way back. I think he's been around longer than I have, because I used to interview him on the podcast. Lead role in story and setting and the content team, the people who are making the dungeons. You have to have, pretty much,
Felix
you know,
Wagner
every
at
kind of
last,
subgroup is going to
but
need to
he
have
doesn't
a
seem
lead
A
of
nearby
sorts.
rat looks
That
at
being
you
kind of a
attentively.
point person you can go to for cross-team communication and such, and he is that for the content team. Oh, you know Knockback because of the door in the Anniversary Dungeon. A perfectly ordinary door.
Dr. Gustav stands among an array of bodies, the subjects of his cruel, failed experiments. The doctor will conduct no more experiments. You've obtained what justice you can for the
Well, that worked out pretty good.
subjects of this
I was, in
laboratory.
fact, able to get this basically done in 15 minutes. In case you can't guess, I've been farming this chest a little bit for new loot, new items, ingredients. Also running Chilla Ravenloft quests in this character, leveling up a bit. I'll be back next Friday with more Fridays at 4 here on twitch.tv/DDOstream. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, as I said, we are working on doing more vertical video content, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Give us a like. It's the best thing you can do to help the channel. Thank you, everyone in the DDO community, for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.